so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you gave yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you gave yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No wall you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you gave yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of
Through every battle,
circumstance. You are my fortress, you are my portion, you are my hiding place. I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe through every blessing, through every promise, through every breath I take. I believe that you are provider, oh, you are protector, you are the one I love. I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are. And it's a new horizon, and then I'm set on you. And you meet me here today with mercies that are new. All my fears and doubts, they cannot come true, because they can't stay long when I'm here with you. And it's a new horizon, and I'm set on you. And you meet me here today, mercies that are new. Oh, all my fears and doubts, they cannot come true, because they can't stay long when I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are. It's a new horizon, and I'm set on you. And you meet me here today, mercies that are new. Oh, all my fears and doubts, they can all come true, because they can't stay long when I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are. tested like a covenant of old. Your love is enduring through the winter rain and beyond the
nhà rong bên trên rong xia và chơi chào và chơi chừng sai hiệu thế trả cử số lên số tu thế rong xia cho sẽ đợi họ trong lúc xí hở bây giờ các tôi bây hở và chữ lúc xí hở nào ít giờ thì bây nhà và nhà chơi là bây tàu tôi chữ nhà hậu thôi internet nào hỗ trợ ya lụm mong hay bây giờ các tôi sẽ trả cử và chữ cho lụa ok nếu nào cũng linh chỉ nu là gì today is Father's Day, so I want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and for all those who are still fortunate enough to have a father around, I want you to take the time, go give him a hug today, or give him a call. Hu tokatsi. Hai to kat si at Happy Father's Day. Lashi hu to kat si at si kuluka. So today, I have the privilege and honor to share the message on Father's Day again. Last year, my message was a very heartfelt, impassionate message, a message that I wish to pass on to my children, a message that any father would have been wanted passed down to their children. So it's an important message because it addresses both generation, the father and the son, or the parent or the child. And I'm going to tell you about a story about a father and a son. And before we go into, let me lead us in prayer. Like a true father, like a true loving father, you restore us. It's not all about true warm, fuzzy feelings of love, but Lord, there are wrath involved. There's consequences involved for the actions that we do as children that we many times receive from our fathers. And any father, Lord, you taught us that we should not spare the rod to our child if we do love our child. And may this message be an encouragement to all the fathers and all the children out there. Amen. So, when it comes to father and son, I put Nemo and Marlon. Without the son, the condition of the son, the story of Nemo would not exist. Yeah. And you know, if you recall what the Nemo's condition was. But today is not the story about Nemo, unfortunately. It's just to kind of get us in the right frame to talk about a father and a son. Trong plau plau chờ trầu một sập chỉ chập plau nè it's a little wordy but giờ cũng nhàng. Let me read the scripture for you. Once more he visited Cana in Galilee, where he had turned the water into wine. And there was a certain royal official whose son lay sick at Capernaum. When this man heard that Jesus had arrived from Galilee, from Judea, he went to him and begged him, to come and heal his son, who was close to death. And Jesus said, unless you people see signs and wonders, you will never believe. But the royal official said, sir, please come before my child dies. And Jesus said, go, your son will live. The man took Jesus at his word and departed. And while he was still on his way, his servants came and met him with the news that his son was living. When he inquired as to when the time was when his son got better, they said, yesterday, at 1 p.m, the fever left him. Then the father realized that this was the exact time when Jesus said, your son will live. So he and his whole household believed. John wrote that this was the second sign Jesus performed after coming from Judea to Galilee. So and again, this story is about a father and a son. It doesn't talk too much about the son. Chúa cho xia lợi sư, yeah, hay cho khó rong cái terminal illness, death is imminent. Là chỉ Chúa cho xia lợi sư, nhưng chỉ rong lên, nhưng chỉ một núi rong lên. Biết là hiểu mình gì, cho ra nào. So as I study, I like to know the context. When I read the Bible, I like to know the context. Thầu cú nhận vào là cú là gì cú ya quốc gia xảy ra từ cú xã bao ở lúc chạy nhung là nữ dòng lại chạy cả cú cha chạy tàu yếu kế này. Many times we take one verse and we don't understand the context around that verse and we misinterpret it. We misinterpret it because we apply our own situation to Scripture, and that usually leads to misinterpretation, where we take the verse out of context, which is not the intent of the verse, what it was written, or the purpose of what it was written for. So yeah, ku cha pe ta kala hia kham background min chi cha jana ya have le cha jana ni teli chu shi lina te leng si ni teli wali ni wana yeah. So pe pao min je kha context ma Chúa Giêsu nhiều khó bí nữa khó ministries nè. Right after he got baptized by John, and he went and got tempted. Nữa ta cá lò, nữa lò cho luôn trong cây nào. Thật nữa là cho lúc trong cây nào. You understand there was a wedding, right? And they ran out of wine. So Chúa Giêsu, tất cả rồi Chúa Giêsu, what Chúa chỉ mua chợ đây nào. Lọ vật chợ đau lên đó trên mà lên một chỗ luôn trong Capernaum, Cana and Capernaum, in chỉ có kia mua đại map là kia, they're not close together, although they're in the same region. Nên nhớ tí ta chả thì it take in those days thế nhớ họ chơi trong lên đó, nếu chỉ tí tiền à, nếu chỉ ta cái tàu nè, Cana nhớ số trong nhớ số tàu xe ya Capernaum nếu nhớ họ in the valleys, nhớ họ dễ nó luôn ở đây Kelly lại, cái thổ nó ta Chúa Giêsu mua trong đại Capernaum, chỉ ta lên đó thầu Chúa Giêsu nhớ là anh nuôi Chúa Giêsu mua trong đại Jerusalem cho họ tiệt cho chạy, là qua cái chạy là đầu, cái lúc chạy xuất xuất rồi mua lúc chạy nhung nó mà xuất xuất chạy này như Chúa mua trong đại Jerusalem. To go and celebrate the Passover. Thọ Chúa Giêsu ta cảm ơn đã Chúa Giêsu theo lời mua cho trong nó chế, yeah, hiểu mua trong về tiền là cho tế chia nó tôi mua nó Chúa Giêsu chỉ cho xe. So Jesus created a scene there. So to to neng mà tua, they heard about who this Jesus is. They may not know who Jesus was, but they know what happened. Oh, there's a riot in Washington, D.C. Yeah. Everybody knows because Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States. So this would be very equivalent at the Chủ Giêsu Muna. He caused a riot, and unfortunately it's not a riot, but so it was a scene, it was an event. That something happened that day during that Passover. So the name Jesus is already known to many in the land. Lato Chủ Giêsu thao lên đó cái nên có chi nữa thì Chủ Giêsu thầu Chủ Giêsu thao lên đó Chủ Giêsu nhớ hồ Jerusalem. He didn't just remain quiet, okay? He did many signs. What kind of sign did he do? Okay? Signs. And many believed in his name. Again, Jesus created a scene. And cho sư hư lúc cha nhung này hết cho thời cha lúc cha nhung này lấy những chuyện sau xét cho Chúa Giêsu á Nicodemo ya ít tuổi thời cha Nicodemo theo lời nhẹ cái món đồ tuân chỉ Chúa Giêsu nè vì thế thôi Chúa Giêsu kia nè Jesus taught a very different message and it stirred Nicodemus to find more. Nicodemo and that's where we get the famous verse, John 3:16. That's at the basis of our faith. Okay. Telling that Johann Hailu Pater testified that Chúa the Son of God. Okay. And when John did this testimony, he did not just do it quietly. You pay about the Lucha Yona, what you don't link to Johanna. To Johann Kialina, to show that they start hearing about this Jesus, who Jesus is. And now John testifies that Jesus is the Son of God. Telling that Jesus Maliti Takala Mungato Galilee. The she Lucha Yona, look Galilee, Jesus Chitakamo, Li Tutsuajo, what your name Yuda la mo ta she Jesu mo to touch Samaria ne telung chi tu pania yato ta lu ka cha kede the Samaritan woman ne te pianta tu pania na and tu pania na ta ka mo khia lun dong nya ho lu ja ke la chong leng te lan cheng Jesu thong da te. So finally, so when he came back to Galilee, the Galileans already knew who Jesus was. Okay, so by the time they received him. Having seen all the things. Okay, so that's where the context is, the story. So this is when our story takes place. Okay, so what's the map? Okay, Lu trong Jerusalem nhớ cho họ cắt tế là dễ là tao kể đến nè mà giờ này sai đại phần thi nhớ cho xa xì nhớ cho xa xì nè mà lu chạy nông nhung nó mà cho nên Juda mà là chi nhia cho nên Samaria nó kia li cú yo chỉ mua hay ra tiền vị lý cha phải sợ đại bảo rồi thì chỉ xua rồi giờ thì lại tôi mua Jerusalem nhớ cho sát cầu tế mà lại cho lá từ đây Jordan cho sát thì Perea thì là capitalist lại cho lá cho sát thì ra từ đây Juda là mà các lá từ đây Juda mà lại cho các ye trong đó cho số Jerusalem. That is a common practice, because again their disdain or their dislike for the Samaritans.แต่ชีทอChúa Giêsu ta cá Chúa Giêsu tàu cho cái người chỉ la từ đây là người ta cá người chỉ là tàu nhân gian ở Samaria nó ta cá một chỗ sổ lú trong lú thắt chặt Galilee. So on the left side you will see lú trong Nazareth theo lú trong Cana nhớ dễ ok mà thọ bé bao thì Chúa Giêsu pi Chúa Giêsu có ministry Jesus grew up in the town of Nazareth. And Jesus went to the wedding at Cana. Nhớ rồi, ya tới rồi ya phong yêu. Là chỉ ya chung ya rồi lu wedding. Ý trong chung ở Chúa Giêsu niệm theo lệ mù cùng. Nhớ rồi nữa. Để xử lý trong Capernaum, nếu cũng nhớ đấy ra, trở lên khi bé thì nhận ta nó. Based on the reading that we just read, we can deduce that between Cana and Capernaum, it was at least a day's walk. Okay, it was at least a day's walk. Nếu ya tàu kế xứ chỉ ya tàu chỉ inu theo lên một giờ. Ya biết chuyện đại phần tí đó, ya chỉ đây na, cụ đây thì ya đây cha một nát rồi thìว่า Saint Paul của sáng này. Ya in your day là tới rồi, day là tới rồi, in your day rồi này. Mà biết chuyện đại phần tí na xứ, tới rồi bây giờ sai thì nhớ rồi, chỉ ta lên đó, lúc tới chừng nào trong hạ. It's not a flat land. Okay, nó trong hạ chỉ có tàu kế, chỉ thế là xí hành đấy. So kind of give you a context of the region, of the layout of the land for the story. Okay? So now let's take a look at the father. This is a desperate father. Now, I was recently at a funeral, and unfortunately, this funeral, the father had reached out to me out of desperation last year. China từ lên xí nào nữa từ hữu tốt cho cụ lại nữa tiệt và trong cụ tu hard condition lên nào cụ nhớ xe giàu lại trả ấy có hữu mình đã cụ tu thả thế. Again, I won't go into the details of what it was, but a desperate father. Ấy từ lên xí này mà xe trong này từ tu chỉ bảo giàu lại trả lại chế hữu tốt cho cụ các cụ pa. Why? Because I'm his uncle. Maybe he'll listen to me. Yeah, and this is my shortcoming. I can give all kinds of reasons why who tutu or my nephew. But at the end of the day, it's my shortcoming that I did not do what a good uncle should have done. And it's perhaps just a lesson for me, but a lesson for everybody that in this day and age, sometimes talking in person or having a phone call is much better than just sending a text or SMS or Facebook. I think we need more than Facebook. I think we need FaceTime. Go back to good old FaceTime. Will do maybe a lot more good than Facebook. Yeah. But unfortunately, cú ha cho lúc chạy và COVID trâu bê chỉ cú chỉ dùng sinh trí. Again, it could be all kinds of reasons. Yeah, more là cái thì lý giải chỉ cú. It could be all kinds of reasons. Thầu linh sĩ nào hữu tôi rồi cú ha tên nữa thì giờ nào nữa tư mình nên gọi hiong lại. The relationship between me and my nephew is non-existent because the last time I saw him, he was only 3 years old. So what kind of context would I give him? Kuya hu mundan tai kuya pila lutu with the uti chimo relationship. Nu te kuna uti chimo relationship kuya pi hatu. Ya có thể cả cụ đang thả là cụ hú tao thế, thì chỉ lúc chơi nhỏ nào có tới nhiều khói đang thả, có tới nhiều khói chạy nữa ta là, agent của hú mù nói chơi, I would just be acting as your agent, and it would not be effective. Cụ tê, tôi nói giờ cụ tê lâu. This man was my brother, my only brother, my older brother, my blood brother. Cụ ha tê cụ tê lâu lên nói chơi cụ sợ họ chịu hú lại chơi, lý cụ ha COVID cho chế bé mua kinh tàu ya nhiều xe chế cụ hai cho cụ tê lâu thì ya tiền này sáng nhát này chỉ lo chế là cái chỗ tàu một chiều nữa này at least a couple times a month to let him know that you love him, you care for him, that you're close to him. Thì các lúc nữa, cả nên sao là đầu cả, nên sao sai đầu cả, cái này ở tì tất cả là, thì nên lúc xưa tụi cái này tất cả là chế. Cô hai lần đó cô tin lão sư chế, lý cô hai khổ vết trâu chế này cô hai chỉ, mới cho này tụi as much as he would have liked, and then distance more and more. At the end of the day, finally I received the news that my nephew took his own life. He's probably suffered from depression, brokenheartedness, whatever the case. So that was a real heart-wrenching recent example of a father's desperation and the failure or the result that could come from that. There was a different outcome, very different outcome, and a positive outcome. He was a royal official. Meaning a royal official, what does that mean? He had a good reputation. He served the royalty, the royal house. He served the king at the time. Okay? When we say at the time, who was the king? King Herod. The same king that had John the Baptist beheaded. Okay? So, tutsi ning na waholu. Trâu hóa tài, giờ lên nếu mua mình mở rộng, cú bê tao thì, họ nếu mua mình mở thế, nếu cú mua nhiều mua chia thế mà. You don't just become a royal official and be desperate in terms of finances. In those days, when you work for the royal official, you're very well-to-do, very well respected, and especially all the Pharisees and Sadducees, they're very well-to-do. So we can deduce. At the royal official, ne lu va lu che nya to lun thong Capernaum. Ne royal official pe tao tia lu tacha Galilee na ya in the tacha wa ne shai hua. So that's why most people in Galilee know who this official was. Like they don't mention by name, but they know who he was. And we will see, again, from deductions, reason of deductive reasoning. They don't have to tell you the details. You can kind of guess. Okay? So Pep deduced out that he had resources to get the best medicine, treatment for his son. But she bought it into 2 months. That she bought it in the son Tia Chua Jong Molekala in Tia Tao. That she Zaluja Yong has story now, about there. Those did not work. Tia Kuchua Jong Maja to Huala in Kajitao, Mochua Jong Majala in Kajitala, Chua Toala. It's all what die. She bought a Hyundai, so So that's how much we know so far. Arrived in Galilee. When we say Galilee, it's not a town. Galilee is a region. Okay? So Galilee, so Galilee, and the reason the official, not that was his area, is he knew everything that was happening in Galilee. Okay? So Galilee that was his job, to know who's coming in, who's going out, what's going on in Galilee. Judea. Now Judea is the other region where Jerusalem is. Judea, where Jerusalem. So when this man thinks, he does not think about town, and that will tell you the extent of his responsibility. Okay, as a governor, let's say a governor will think in terms of state. A mayor will think in terms of city. local city. A president would think in terms of country. Okay, so this royal official thinks in terms of region, Galilee and Judea. So they thought that that was the extent of his position. Ni to te renu shia. To ne pau te Chúa Giêsu la pe Galilee, la pe Judea, la to Galilee. Ni te pau te he know who the ruler in Judea is, and he know that he is in Galilee. That's why the news is already given to him. Ni tu Paulo. Okay, he was well connected. You have tao na. Etia mon nang tu yang khia nu la. Etia chang fa tu Yesu wa la nya to pe Jerusalem na wa la wa te meng to pe. He created an event here. Ni la ton da ka tha chai la na. Maybe that was how the news was given to him. But to him, the way he received it was, there's hope. Yeah. Whether he was at Galilee, whether he was in Jerusalem or not, lúc chạy và Passover nó cú như chỉ sau thế thì chỉ cho họ vào lúc cú cái vấn đề đó mà nó sau thế thầu lúc Passover mà chống lên một chỗ về Jerusalem mà là thế bao thì Chúa Giêsu lên từ là they knew and they heard about Jesus during that Passover time and what followed. So chống lên những bao là nè. So what my reasoning is, Hakusama, Luchana, he was a royal official, Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover. And again, being high officials, he would have heard the report of Jesus. But the news that he got was a news of hope. Vì thế nên tu mò khó chỉ tao lại. Cho nên tu nên thiệt took the personal initiative. He took a day's journey. Là chỉ nên tao cái inung gạo. Nên thiệt tuan thia Chúa Giêsu. Again, Galilee is a region. Chỉ bảo để Chúa Giêsu la nên nhắc hạt tư để chỉ mà nên tao cái tua. And the first place, I don't know whether that was the first place or not, but he met up with Jesus in Canaan. And that's where he met Jesus. Finally found Jesus there. Yeah. If you want something from someone so bad that you really need to, gặp bề kia, bề tao thì bề mong giờ thì cú mua ít từ sai when I was going to go marry my son, giờ chịu bề, yeah, bag, thọ, yeah, bagged is more than bề lalu mong lalu thọ sự thế rồi, maybe there's a deeper word. But there's an action that follows that it will be equivalent to bag, and that is pay. Pay kia. Thì chỉ nên chọn ở nơi mỗi nơi lúc hư chỉ nơi mỗi nơi lúc mình mà nó cho, nơi mỗi cho, vì thế nên tu is more important. Chẳng chẳng cho nơi cha nơi lúc mình mà là nè. Nơi tu and he humbled himself. And then what Jesus because Jesus, he knew Jesus had something that he could not give. No one else could give. So he humbled himself and elevated Jesus above him to beg him. Sir, please. Lalu, sir. Whenever you say sir, what does that really mean? When you say sir, you show respect that person is higher than you. When you say the word sir. So Nathalie showed that, sir, please come. In fact, I think in Scripture it says, please come down. Yeah. or my son will die. Please come down. Please come down with me to Capernaum and go heal my son. That's what he really meant. Okay, that's why please come down. So the desperation. There's no other solution. In desperation, cơ kế lời, nếu theo môn ở lư hư chỉ, nếu môn lư mình mò, cho, để chia nếu tụi tu chẳng chẳng cha nữa, đầu là chia Chúa Giêsu chẳng chẳng cha gỡ. That was what it took. And in Jesus' response, when you read this, Jesus' response was kind of rhetorical. Yeah, Jesus' response was very rhetorical. Rhetorical, nó mà người chỉ tế tụi chính là nhân gia nè, người tế để đá nè, as if almost to ignore him, but this isn't really to ignore because tụi nó nên chứ chống nhân đó. Remember, tụi Chúa Giêsu cho các lạt cho Galilee, they all received him. Nên bao chống là mỗi ít ba chứ chống từ tuổi trời Chúa Giêsu, từ xa chỉ Chúa Giêsu, từ xa bỏ cho Chúa Chúa Giêsu. They want to see more signs, they want to see more wonders. So tụi Chúa Giêsu cho các là nên chứ chống từ tuổi là, để Chúa Giêsu tụi Chúa Giêsu tế, Chúa Giêsu thiết tế thế. Unless you people see signs and wonders, you will never believe. Tụi cũng nhận cho khả có thể. That's kind of so far off. This guy is desperate. He wants something for his son. All he wants is his son to be healed. Yet Jesus answered a very, very different way. Jesus tế để đa. Bây giờ có thể là tất cả là why ta Chúa Giêsu thế là tế là để đa nào. We can deduce again from deduction. Chúa Giêsu bảo thế. People live by sight. And so many, that's not any different than today. Yeah. We as human beings, last week, the five senses, and we make our decisions based on those five senses. We learn by those five senses. And Jesus knows this. Why? Because he was our creator. So yeah, in terms of how does this relate to Hosanna, it's been 400 years. It's been at least 400 years since they heard from God. Other than a Messiah will come. So it's been 400 years. An example of this, it did not even take 400 years for my family to not even recognize my sons. Funeral in Datosa a couple of weeks ago. Because it's only been less than 10 years they've grown. They're Christian, shalom. Vì thế Christian có here xong rồi thì Christian tự lo thế share ý là shalom là. Lấy sai tiền đó shalom. So just imagine, in less than 10 years, if they've already not recognized my children, my sons, just think 400 years, what that would do to people, a people. Elijah will return. Elijah one day to Messiah La to Elijah they didn't even recognize Elijah when he returned. If you look at Matthew 17, Elijah has already came. But you didn't recognize him. In fact, you killed him. You abused him. Elijah was John. Johann Baptist. If Jesus was to say, and the Messiah is here, and you don't even know, Jesus could have said that. In fact, Jerusalem, oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. How I had wanted to gather you and hold you. Yeah, Jesus tell you lament, tell you to share halalu to share te ocha kula na neti chipau ku. E kuncha ku satu na la pokula neti chipau ku na. So that's the context, that's the mindset that Jesus had when Jesus said these signs that they are. Tu Messiah nyak ya na nela ya te ne chi wat te chu chi na ne yin chin ching. And that required Jesus to perform miracles just to show that he was there. Okay. Finally, Jesus tell you they to sineng ta ka sir. Ya pe hai la lu mong sir na ya la. Ya la na ya pe hai la lu. Ya la ya ka chi la je ku tu ya to. And Jesus finally said, go, your son will live. So, to Jesus te la lu na su lệnh sĩ na chắc kiến chừng they're okay. When we recognize a higher power, that is what is required of us. Okay? If your faith isn't there to respond to that high power, it doesn't matter how high that power is. You know, when I say higher power, if we don't have the faith in that response, nothing will happen. Go, your son will live. Yeah, but you need to go with me. I need you to be there. I need you to touch him. I need you to heal him. Then that would have been the end of the story. That would have been the end of his son. His son would have passed. Okay? But he didn't do that. Okay? He took Jesus at his word according to the scripture. And he departed. He was not disappointed. Again, from deductive reasoning, he departed. I would say he departed immediately. Okay? If I was to put words in there, he believed Jesus' word and he departed immediately. And he went back home hoping, knowing that he will see his son. It's not going back and hoping. Yeah. But he knows that he go back, he will see his son well. Your son is well. And for confirmation, at at 1 p.m. At 1 p.m. Oh, yesterday, where was I? Yesterday at 1 p.m., I was having this conversation with Jesus. That was when I was telling Jesus to come, and that was when Jesus said, go, your son will be healed. That's how we know that it was a day's travel between Canaan and Capernaum. It's not that he went shopping elsewhere. No, it said he went straight back town, but it took him a day to get back to Capernaum. Now, we could say that's the end of the story, and it would have been a good story for us, okay? It's a great story. Hope we learned something. But there's more to the story. There's more to the story. And if these last two did not happen, the story would have been, whether it's less effective or would have been of no importance. But he believed in Jesus. Vì thế Chúa Giêsu khá tao khả năng. Again, remember Chúa Giêsu lalu hai nè. Unless you see signs and wonders, you will not believe. And this confirms what Jesus said. So, yes, there was a sign, and the sign was that his son was healed through Jesus' word. Not even being there, Chúa Giêsu chỉ muốn xua nó, chỉ muốn chữ nó, chỉ muốn hai nó, chỉ muốn mua chua đó nó, chỉ muốn mua jar. Chúa Giêsu chỉ la lũ sư thế. Your son will be healed. Yet tu dòng lại. Because of that, linh sĩ nan chinh Chúa Giêsu. And more importantly, he brought his whole household. When we say household, when household is not just me, my son, and my kids. When we say household, remember, he is an official, a royal official. The closest to our heart, closest to us. He was a royal official. He took on the position. Well, who is his household? His household is not just his immediate family. We are here, good news, are also, many of us are part of his household. His household is an extended family, is what we say here. His extended family, his whole household, believed. And that's a big effect. That's what we call a multiplication. He was a multiplier. Okay? It's not just him and his family. He is a multiplier. Those in high positions are multipliers. So whether you use your position to do good or to do your own personal things, you are a multiplier, positively and negatively. It just depends how you want to multiply. So all fathers are multipliers. We are multipliers. And so the decisions that we make, we must make them rationally and with good conscience. That more positive consequences. So again, faith requires a response. Faith requires a response. And to close, where can faith be found? Unfortunately, faith cannot be found, is rarely found in times of abundance. Kiến trình, ya có ya ta cả có lúc nên dòng ai có cho kiến trình thì là ya có ya ta cả có ya tu ya ki mua mình mà chơi, và nên ai có cho cái tí cho cái là chủ cái theo theo mà chủ lúc bé cờ ai có cho kiến trình thì là you know you will not find faith there, okay? Because then you are sufficient. Everything else sufficient. So yeah, this is faith is very, it's very difficult to find faith in good times, but faith can be easily found. Is very easy. In crisis and in tragedy. In times of shortages, you will find faith there. We see that in many cases. Shortage of wine, for heaven's sake, just wine. There was enough there to find faith. In times where science and reason is no longer sufficient, we live in a time where reason and science are championed. That in fact, because of science, there is no God. Yeah, giờ tao giờ cái science nữa chẳng lên này thì science can do everything. Be more science, be chỉ ni ga là chỉ mua văn chữ là. That is the wrong way to look at it. Science is only a part of life. God is the author of life. Science, if I was to say this in programming language, class science implements God. Yeah. Yeah, they have more program, show computer programming. So science is only an implementation of God's creation. Và chú cho bố bé bao at certain time. Et to bé bao lỡ chỉ bé thì science. But khả năng và chú thì okay, cô chú bố này bao lên nào sư. In time, I will give you more when you're ready to handle more knowledge. So God is still the author of that. Để sĩ thuật cho nó trong explain cho tao là nè, cancer, mỗi chua là có cancer, mỗi cha có cho tao là what cha thằng mà chú cho cancer is gone. That's where faith can be found. Okay? So in fact, Jesus knew this. That's why Jesus did 37 miracles to address these conditions. Enough for us to say, yes, it's documented. Addresses our human condition, or the things that we cannot control. Crisis, tragedy, shortages, science, reasoning. No matter how much we think we know, there are many things we don't know. And Jesus did 37 miracles to show us. And so in my conclusion, for Father's Day, so fathers, if you still think that where can you find faith, or if you say you have faith but you feel like you haven't found Jesus, or you don't know Jesus, or you're not close to Jesus, what I will tell you at the find your faith and you will find Jesus. And when you find Jesus, you will find God. And as King David said when I last preached about King David, David found his victories in the valleys. That's what David found his victories. He didn't find his victories in the palace. In fact, his greatest defeats, his greatest mistakes were in the comforts of the palace. His family was weak. As a father, he was a weak father. Okay, in the comforts of the home, he was weak. He didn't find very many victories there. To look at the faith, if we find faith, if we think that having a good job, a high-paying job, a nice house, no, your faith will crumble. Your faith is superficial. But in times of crisis that we just went through this pandemic, whether it's here in person or whether it's online, that time still belongs to God. In times of crisis, that your faith is still there. So as a father, from a father to another father, or from a father to future fathers, I will tell you, find Jesus and you will find faith. Okay, if you find Jesus, you will find God. So for today, my message to you fathers is simply have faith in Jesus. And a happy Father's Day. Thank you. Okay, good chinchaka do chat tại bên chị. CLT, nu nào bên một CLT nữa. So right after pe và pe hỏi nó chỉ pe trả cả một chỗ tàu Zoom cho CLT nè, nên một chỗ tàu Zoom nên mua cái shit thả nè. Đó lên đó lựa thì nè after pe hỏi na che bây giờ mua congregation meeting nhớ cho họ zoom thế thầu bây giờ ta na che sau đó tất cả một họ zoom bây mua congregation meeting nè thật sự của họ chỉ nhắc hay là one day là hopefully you're still around that you can still participate. Thank you.